Hello friends, in this video I will be demonstrating about Django default token creation and authentication process. Well, Django by default comes up with a token creation, or I can say it creates hash, a token in the form of hash, and this hash you can use for the purpose of user registration, or when you are creating a new user. At that point of time you can use this token authentication process to validate that whether the token or whether the user is actually valid or not. Let me show you the whole entire thing. Over here I have got one route called register user. As I come over here, I'm supposed to fill up the data for a given customer, but what I want is that after filling up the data, the respective customer email ID should be validated. Only if the email ID is valid, then the complete registration process will be accomplished. If the email ID is invalid, the registration will not take place and the user will not be able to log in. So how do you ensure that the user registration process completes with a valid email ID? Well, in that case we have to send a mail to the respective mail ID that the user provides. Like for example, suppose I fill up the form with the data called Swaroop, the last name is Shaha, username is suppose Swaroop Shaha, and here I'm providing the mail ID and I have to provide the valid mail ID. Like for example, I'm providing mail ID as iot.prog.1@gmail.com and I've given password blah 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 blah. So I give a password. Now I want to ensure that the user registration process or the customer registration process will be successful provided this email is valid. Now how do I ensure this? In order to ensure this, I have to send a mail to the respective mail ID. Well, what a big deal, you can send a mail, but no, you need to keep one thing in mind, because this is a registration process, so one particular user will be having one email ID only. That email ID I cannot use it for any other user. So while the registration has been completed, we have to ensure that the duplicate email ID does not exist. That also we need to take care about. And how do you ensure that when the user will receive the mail, after that what user should do? Well, the user should perform the activation process. Well, in order to complete the activation process, then the URL of the respective website where from the mail is getting generated, don't you think that need to be forwarded to the email ID? Of course we have to forward that email, that mail, that particular website detail in the mail as well, so that the user when it activates will validate through that particular URL. So how do you do this? And that's what I will be showing right over here. Okay, first of all let me show you that right now I'm in a route called account/register. So let me take you to my code window so that you get to see all the thing. So over here let me close the tab and let me click on this, and here is my project url.py. Let me bring you over here. I have an account route. Yes, the account route is over here. So let me close this and let me come to the account routes. So here is my account, here is my account routes, and I have a tab called register user. So that will take me to the following view method here exactly. So I land over here. Now if you see over here, this is the entire segment where we are performing. Let me close all these functions so that we can get to see what we have got. Right, so here we did come across, and here we are supposed to perform the user registration. But wait, before that, look over here. I have created one custom decorator. I give the name as unauthenticated user. So let me open the decorator file over here and to see what this decorator function is all about. So look over here, the name of the decorator function is unauthenticated user. So from here the control directly jump to this particular place where we have defined the decorator function. Now as we know that the decorator function is an extension of the regular function which we are performing, so this is my main function. So this particular function I will be passing as an argument to the decorator function. So this argument. That means the decorator function is supposed to receive this function as an argument, and that would get stored right over here inside this view underscore function. So view underscore function actually holds the following function, which is right over here. That's how the decorator is supposed to work. Now inside this I have got another function, that is, I give the name as a wrapper underscore function. You can write whatever name you want, that's not a big deal, and it has got following arguments, and the value of this is right inside. Is over here we are going to work on the request. The request is here, I'm passing the request, so that request is right over here, and from here it eventually comes over here. The request is like when I will fill up the form, like what I did, and I will click on submit button, so definitely that's the entire request, right? You got a page, and in the template form in the front end, so that's a request. So the request is I have a user. So here I'm saying that in the request there would be a user, and is the user authenticated? No, the user is not authenticated because user didn't logged in. So where from the user is authenticated will become true. It's not true at all, it's false. So since it is false, so it will come to the else part, and it will redirect to the function which actually has been written below this decorator. So that actually is going to be executed, and then from here we are returning back. And that means from this particular function we understood that the user is not a valid user. User is not yet created. So for that reason, if condition didn't work, rather we are returning back to the view so that we can execute the following function, right? So far so good. So when I just tapped on the when I wrote like, let me show you from the scratch again. Suppose here is my URL. So if I open new tab and if I close this, and if I write localhost :/8000, and if when I will write this and I will hit the enter, so that means I am going to perform a get request, isn't it? A get request is performed. So for that reason the request is of type get, and we are getting the customer.register HTML page. So that's the template that has been forwarded to us, and because of that reason we are seeing this. So the get request got executed, and even before that the decorator also got executed, but the decorator found that the user registration is not valid. Since the registration is not valid, so it executed the else part, and eventually what will happen is we come back to the register for user function, and the request.method get got fired, and we got the template which now we need to fill up the data. So once again I have to fill the data over here. So Swaroop Shah, and username is Swaroop space Shah, and iot.prog.1@gmail.com, and I need to provide my password. I did that. Okay, so now if I submit, if I click on save button, what will happen? Again the same thing. First it will come right over here in the URL. From there it will come to the register users. So this will redirect right to this particular view function, and it will perform the decorator, and the control will go to decorator, and again the same thing. User registration would fail. It will return back, and the control will come over here, but this time it's not a get request anymore, rather it's a post request. So here the data will come in, and I have made use of a model form. So with the help of model form it will pick up the data. So with the help of model, like if I click on the, you can find this a model form is there. So with the help of the model form it will pick up the respective data which I have given in the form of first name, last name, username, email, and password. So 5 input I give in the template, as you can see right over here, 1 2 3 4 5. So 5 input I've given. So one by one all those 5 input will be extracted from the form and will be assigned to this following variables: first name, last name, email, username, and password, and all these are properly validated, so there won't be any validation issue. And now look over here what we are doing, and we are doing a really interesting thing. We are creating an object. We're creating an object that, I mean, this object will be responsible for inserting data inside the inside the table. And since in my website I have got different type of users, so this particular user which I'm creating is of type customer. So there's an attribute in my table by the name called role, and that role would be customer, and I'm going to save the data in the table. So I mean that the record will get saved. Well, right now if I run the tab over here, there is no record, I believe. Yeah, it's really empty. There's no record at all, but once it comes over here the record will be saved. Okay, so what are the things we are saving? We are saving first name, last name, username, email, and password. The following 5 attributes we are saving, Along with that, the role is also getting saved. The role is of time customers. So 6 total attributes are getting assigned. This is one side of the coin. What about the other side of the coin? Well, over here, if you come back, I will show you an attribute that is called is active. Look over here, there is an attribute called is active. By default, when the registration is taking place at that point of time, the is active attribute will be false, because user did not activate the account. User will activate the account when the user clicks on the activate tab via mail. So that process has not been initiated. So for that reason, user is active will be false. Now comes the most challenging part of the story, where I have to generate my email, and for that reason what I did is I created this is like a variable which has got this particular caption which is used for the subject. And here, look, I have created one variable called email underscore template, which is talking about a particular like a path where my template is located. So if I come to my template directory, inside that I have a folder called accounts, and inside that I have a file folder called email. Like as you can see over here, I have a account, inside that I have an email, and inside that I have a page called account verification email. So if I expand this, I have a page called account verification email. If I double click on this, this is the template that I will be rendering for sending my mail. Okay, I will come back to the template, don't worry about that. Now over here I also got one particular function, send verification email, where I'm passing for following attributes. One is called request. Now this request is a request which the user has submitted. When the user submitted this particular page, by clicking on this, the request got generated, and this request is very important. Why it is very important? Because this request will tell me the URL, this particular URL. So when you are sending a mail for the purpose of user registration from a particular website, in that mail the respective website URL should also be there, so that when the user clicks on the activate button, the control should redirect to the same website via the URL. So for that reason, this URL would play a very crucial role, and that's the reason why we have to pass the request, because request knows the URL. Now over here I have got another important attribute that is called user. This user which we have created, which we have saved in the database, and within that user we have got first name, last name, email and password. All those attributes are there. Now you might be wondering why I'm sending this user. The reason why I'm sending this user is, see, there will be multiple customers who will be creating an account in your website. How would you identify which user is this, unless and until the email ID of the user is not been mentioned, right? So for that reason I need this. Now along with that, user authentication is also required in the form of some way you have to verify that this is the valid user, and for that reason you need some encryption that will come again. So for that reason we will be using the user details for encryption. Well, the mail subjects are written over here, and the path for the template existing, that has also been mentioned, and this entire thing is now been forwarded to a new function which I have created, that is right over here. So let me collapse this one, and let's come over here and see over here, receiving the request that will provide me the URL, the user instance that got created and that got stored in the table, that from where I will be getting the email ID, the password. The mail subject is all there, and email template will tell me the path where my email exists. So this particular email I'm talking about. Now over here I have to create some important thing. Inside my settings.py I have mentioned that from which email the mail be forwarded. I cannot open settings.py because all the credentials are written over there. So for that reason, just follow what I'm saying. Inside settings.py I have mentioned the account through which the mail will be forwarded. Okay. And as I was saying, that I need to get the URL from where it is getting initiated. So this particular URL I need to get, and for that reason what I have done is that get current sites. It's coming from Django contrib site shortcut. This will provide me the actual domain name. It would come something like this. At the current moment it is http://localhost 8000 port number /account. This entire URL will come, and I will be able to collect that to the request argument. So for that reason, request argument you have to send, otherwise you won't be able to regenerate the URL. And if the URL is not there, then of course after the clicking the activation button, where you will redirect. So for that reason, request is very important. And then comes a very important line that will give a call to the template. But before the template get fired, render to string, this function is actually coming from, see, this is function related with the package template loader. So you have to load the template now, but before the template got loaded, certain things you have to mention. The first is that which particular path where the template exists, that is what I have written over here. And then comes an object. Now inside the object I'm passing the user, some user, like the user who is registering that, the website through which that particular, like later on it will redirect back to the website which I will mention over here. And now here I'm passing some encoding scheme. As I said that there can be multiple users who will be creating an account in your website. How do you identify them? And for that reason, user identification will be done by the user ID. Every user will have its own primary key, user ID. Through that I will differentiate that which particular user has created an account. So when I will be saving the user, which I didn't do it yet, but as I click on, when I run the program, then it will be getting saved. It will receive one ID over here in the form of primary key. So this ID I will be forwarding, I will be encoding it. So for that reason, this is the way you encode it in the base 64 format. And what are you encoding? You're encoding the primary key, and I'm storing it in a variable called UID, and I'm generating one token. This is very important. Default token generator is a part of default feature of Django. So Django authentication. So you can generate a token. You will be generating a token, which is very important. That the token has to be generated. But the token will be generated how? How will you make the token? For that reason, you are using the user instance. Now from the user, it will pick up the primary key. It will pick up the password, and it will also use our timestamp. So combining all the three things together, it will create one hash token. I repeat, the make underscore token function will include three parameters. From the user, it will pick up the primary key. From the user instance, pick up the password, and it will also insert one timestamp. So this timestamp will be of a particular, what I will say, particular duration, you can say so. That means within that particular duration you have to do the registration. It's something like once you send an OTP, the OTP is active for maybe 1 minute, maybe for 2 minutes. That's the maximum time span that is given. Within that you have to complete the entire process. The same thing over here. So keep it in mind, when the token is getting generated, there will be a max timestamp given mentioned. So you have to do the registration within the stipulated time span. If you do it after that, then the time will elapse and the registration will be not successful. So this is the token, hash token, that is getting generated, and you are storing it inside a variable called token. So that means over here I have got domain, I have got UID, which is the primary key, and I have got token. So these three things I will be using it in my template. Let me bring you to the template now and look over here. I have got the domain. So domain will tell me which particular website I need to get back, and there's a particular route called activate. So this is a route. So later on, if you come to the urls.py, you will find there is a route called activate. See over here, this activate route is taking two dynamic parameters. One is the 64-bit encoded primary key and the token that got generated. I will show you that over here. See over here, there is a variable called UID, which actually holds the ID which actually got generated right from here. That is the UID, which is a primary key in the encoded format, and there is a token which is a hash format that is also been mentioned over here and in the form of variable. So these things are what been extracted right over here inside the urls.py file. So when the user will click on the mail and will go for the activate, then it will pick up the primary key in the 64-bit encoded format, and it will pick up the hash. And the activate function has to verify that whether the activation has been taken successfully or not. Okay, so that is what the message has been done. And now here comes that to whom I'm sending the mail. The to mail will be means where the mail is, who is the recipient, and email message is the default service of the Django core mail that I'm going to use. So mail subject is there, message is already been mentioned. This is the entire message that will come, from whom the mail is coming and to whom the mail is going, and it is of type HTML, and the mail has been sent. So once the mail has been sent, then comes the activate functionality. Okay, let me execute this and then we'll get back to the activate function. Okay, by now we have talked about two functions. One is called register underscore user, and register underscore give a call to send. See over here, the register underscore user, after filling up this data, has given a call to the send. See, send has been send verifications. From here the control came over here. So let's go and click on this and let's see what happened. But before that, let's just go and click on the database once more time to see that nothing is there inside. So I fill the data, and now I'm going to click on the okay, by the way, let's come to the mail account and let me reload the page just to see that everything's empty. Wow, great. So let's come over here and let me click on the save button, and let's wait for a while. I forgot to insert the progress bar. I need to insert that. Yes, now it says check your mail, and I'm expecting mail. Oh, look over here, I received one mail. It's really nice, so cute. I received the mail over here, right? And not only that, that means if I have to go to the code part, that means this entire process has been done and the user has been saved, right? So let's come to the database and let's reload it. Yes, I can see the data has been saved, but if you notice over here, is active is false, right? Activation has not yet been done because the mail has been sent but the user is yet to perform the activation. So let's minimize this, and now you understood how the mail has been sent. So once the user tap on the mail, inside the mail what we will be getting, if you see over here, there is one activate route is there, right? That's what I said. So inside this there will be an activate route, because over here if you see there is an activate URL is there, right? So let's come to my mail body now, and here it is. Let me open the mail, and here it is. Look over here, there's an activate button is there. So if I put my mouse over here, if I hover it, look at this bottom left corner, this part, bottom left corner, you will find it's showing localhost /account/activate, and that is what I showed you in my template right over here, right? So now if I click on this, it should go to the route called activate, and this activate route I have to do it very fast, otherwise elapse will take place. So that activate route will be this route which will pick up the ID and the token. So let me do it very quickly. As I click on this, it has said congratulations, your account has been activated, and look, we have been redirected to the URL. So this redirection was taken by the request, and let's come to the database and let's reload the tab once again to see that is active, which was false initially. Is it true now? Let's come over here. Okay, see, is active is true now. That means user can log into it. So how is this is activated work? Let me show you that, and then I will show you the login process. Means I will just log it. So user has clicked on the activate, and in the activate we saw that there are two things are there. One is the encrypted primary key, which we saw right over here. The primary key was encrypted, it was encoded by base 64, so we need to decode that to get the ID, and we also has got the hash token, and that was been given into this particular two parameters. UID64 is going to hold the encrypted primary key and the token, which is the hash token. So these two parameters is right over here and in this particular variable block. Right now let's move to the activate function. It is right over here in this, just above this end function. So over here now I will be receiving the request, because request will tell me the URL, the domain, right? This is my primary key because the primary key has been encrypted. This is my primary key which we have received already in the form of encrypted form, and this is my hash token. So now I have to decode my hash token. Since this was a make token, now we have to decode the token. So let me expand this and let's see one after the other. The first thing is that inside the try block we are doing everything. So we are going for decoding our primary key. So after we have decoded the primary key, we will get the primary key right over here, and that primary key will help me to fetch the actual tuple from the database. See, the primary key is over here. So that means if I perform a select star with the ID of primary key is 4, I will be getting this particular instance, and that I need to collect, because the rest of the thing I have to do it with the help of that only. So after executing this piece of code, I got the primary key over here, and now with the help of user model, I'm using the default user model that Django provides. I'm giving a call to the get method, which is the ORM function, and this is my manager, the ORM manager. It is used to pick up the ID from the table, that is the ID 4, and the respective tuple will come right over here. So inside this user, I would be getting this entire tuple. Okay, this whole tuple is right over here. I know the video is becoming pretty lengthy, but nothing can be done. So ID is been extracted, and we got the tuple. So in that case, the try block executed successfully. So there is no portion of going to accept. Now come to the if block, which is very interesting. So I said that yes, there exists a user. That means, is it not none? No, it's not none, because user is there. And this is very interesting. Here I'm going for undo the hash. So over here we met the hash. Now here we are going to check the hash. Follow the function name. It is called check token, because it has to verify the token validity. So what was the token? First of all, the user details is over here. So because this token is meant for a particular user, so for that reason you have to pass the user, And remember, while making the token, I said that the user primary key, the user password, and the timestamp will be verified. So for that reason, this user information is required to be passed over here during this check token decryption, because when you give this user, then only it will be able to extract the primary key. So the check token function will extract the primary key, will extract the password that user has given, and it will also verify that the time span that was mentioned over here, this entire process has been completed within that stipulated time span. Because if you do the work after the time span getting elapsed, then this registration will not take place. So if both the things are valid, then the user is there in the table and the whole process has been completed within the stipulated time span, if both are correct, then inside the user there is an attribute called isActive, which you saw just now over here. There is an attribute called isActive. We are making it true, that the reason true, and then we are resaving the tuple once again. And because of this, the database is having the value true, which was initially false over here. This true is coming right over here, and then we are redirecting with a message called congratulations, your account has been activated. This message has been what's shown over here, congratulations, your account has been activated, plus you have been redirected to where another route that is called my account. So it takes us to the URL, and over here we have got my account, and that brings us to this particular route, my account. Well, already the video is pretty lengthy. Do I need to talk about this one in this video? Well, let's keep it up to this. But at the end, I must say that you have done a wonderful job, because what are the things we have covered? We covered three important parts. One is the register user, right? How to receive the data, how to generate the email template. That's what we saw. Along with that, we saw that how are you going to create the token part, the hashing part, which is very important when you are sending a mail. And lastly, how you have actually validated the token, as well as you have decoupled the hashing, and now you are good to log in. So if I come over here, I can now log into the site. Okay, so let's get into it and let's see. But what I did is that when the user will logged in, every time the user logged in, a new mail will come into your mail account. So right now you just got only one mail, which was the registration mail. Let me reload the tab once again. This is just registration mail which I've received. But now if I log in, every time I log in, I'm supposed to get a mail like I'm informing that the user has logged in, somewhat like that. Okay, iot.prog.1@gmail.com, and let me give the password. Okay, my password is done, and I will click on the login button. Again, I have to use the progress bar, which I didn't do it. I have to wait a while and see you have successfully logged in. So I will be receiving a mail. Oh, so sweet. I already received a mail over here stating that I have been successfully logged in. Yes, and that was my username, which I gave, Swarup Shaha. And here it comes, login successful. So this was the user registration. This is this. So if I click over here, nothing big deal. It just says that hello Swarup Shah, you have been logged in successfully, blah blah blah. Right? That's really cool. It's looking nice, isn't it? So here we are right now, and we have been able to say logged into it, and so we can go for logout. And one more thing I want to show you that said, suppose if I copy this, if I copy the URL and if I log out, what do you think? If I paste back that URL, the dashboard, should it get open? Nah, see, it's not getting open. Okay, let me close the tab and let me try it again. And if I put it, the beauty of my application is it won't allow you to log in unless you provide the input of the user account. That is the beauty, right? So all this is happening with the Django authentication and the token part. So in this video, we really covered a good interesting portion. Please take a note of the video once again, and in my some other video, definitely I will talk about how did I logged into the application, because login part is now left, registration part got completed. Okay, so that's all from this video presentation. See you soon. Bye bye, take care.